I'm gonna be vulnerable today. I might cry because y'all, this is vulnerable stuff. Like I said, I'm healing in front of y'all. I'm not acting like I've already reached a place that I have not healed from yet. Y'all, you know, I'm still healing. I'm still healing. Hey y'all, how are y'all doing today? My name is Jaquil the Holistic One Gilchrist. Some of you may know me as Kiki, others of you may just know me as Jaquil, but nonetheless, you know, I am really excited about this new season and chapter of my life. So y'all, before we go into like any podcasting ordeal, because today is a podcast, as y'all can see, the title of it is called God. Excuse the grammar. I got 21 questions. I just want to first kind of like start this episode off by just giving y'all some housekeeping things, kind of like some revamping things that I'm working on as it relates to rebranding what you guys know as the Whole Story Sundays. So first of all, just an FYI, y'all, the name of this podcast is no longer going to be called the Whole Story Sundays podcast. This podcast is actually going to be titled Vitality, the Whole Story Refreshed. Subsequently, you will probably still be getting some episodes on Sundays only because that's just my most mild day. I after church, I'm kind of just like open to podcasting, so I love doing that. But I will say that the name of it is changing, right? So it will be called Vitality, the Whole Story Refreshed. So first of all, y'all, I kind of want to let y'all know, I have notes, y'all, because it's so much things that I have to brief y'all on, and I don't want to miss out on anything. So first of all, let me get into the reasoning for me changing the name, right? The Whole Story Sundays, I feel like in the season of life that I was in, I was only giving you guys half the story. The other half of the story had yet to be told, right? So first of all, vitality. Y'all know I got to define it for y'all because I want y'all to understand the reasoning for the name change. So the name of vitality, or the definition of it, is the state of being strong with active and energy. It's also to give life to something. So the thing that I want y'all to understand is that over the last 4 years, I have been in a season of long suffering, where, you know, a lot of you guys may or may not know that I lost my father, and that I was going through some financial deficits and difficulties, which was pretty much the reasoning for me podcasting, but I was kind of podcasting on and off. And the reason for me podcasting on and off was because, you know, I was in a season where, even though the name of my podcast was called The Whole Story Sundays, right? The reality of the story is I didn't feel whole. Now, some of you guys may or may not know that when I had started The Whole Story Sundays, hey grandma, thank you for tuning in, that when I had started The Whole Story Sundays, the original rationale and reason behind me starting and calling it The Whole Story Sundays was because my catchphrase was to teach you guys how to be whole, mind, body, and soul. However, of course, when you're grieving someone and you lose your father and you're going through financial issues and things of that nature, you don't feel that whole yourself. So it's almost like I'm telling people to be whole, mind, body, and soul. But at the same time, I didn't really feel that whole myself. So over the last 4 years, y'all, I'm going to brief y'all. I hate to anybody who just joined. I'm going to brief y'all on kind of like the things that I've been going through or that I have been through. But I'm going to just lay the foundation. So I'm saying the whole story, but I'm not telling you guys like the whole story, what's really happening in my life. So I heard God say, it's time to rebrand the podcast. And instead of calling it The Whole Story Sundays, you're going to call it Vitality, the Whole Story Refreshed. Now listen to this, y'all. Vitality, like I said, means to give energy to something, and or not only does it mean to give energy, but it also means to live or to be resurrected. So if I'm going through a season of pruning where God is literally stripping everything from me, then of course I don't feel that way. And so now that we're calling it Vitality, the Whole Story Refresh, the plan of this podcast, what we're going to do with this rebrand is not only am I going to tell y'all, show y'all as I'm walking through my life, as I'm going through the healing stages of my life, as God is stripping me right in front of y'all, as God is like revamping me and helping me to get my life together and on track. I'm going to also tell y'all the whole story, mind, body, and spirit. I'm going to tell y'all the whole story, the good, the bad, the ugly, and it might not be fun sometimes telling you guys the whole story. It may be vulnerable at times. I might tell y'all the mistakes that I made along the way, but my thought process is if it can help you, then I don't even mind it being out there, because my thought process is all of us need to heal. It's just that some of us have the courage to heal in front of others. Y'all, even as a Black therapist, Christian therapist, whatever you want to label it or call it, I'm still not perfect. A lot of us are healing together. The only reason why we can help you is because we've been through it ourselves. You see what I'm saying? So then refresh, because I literally feel like God is going to refresh us. Healing is refreshing. A lot of people don't understand that healing is absolutely refreshing. Sometimes I feel like when we're healing, we feel so hurt. We feel it. First of all, let me just debunk something. Healing does not look like what they show you on TV. Okay, healing does not look like what they show you on TV. It does not look pretty. It's none of those things. Healing is literally a garbage bag full of trauma, a garbage bag full of disappointments, a garbage bag full of unanswered prayers. So you think, whatever the case may be, even when you go to therapy, get rid of the expectation that healing is going to look fun, that healing is going to look cute. It's not a Chanel bag. It is a healthy bag. And I'm going to be honest, sometimes the people who promote healing, we go through it the worst, because we're telling you guys to heal, but because we're promoting healing, guess what? Now our testimony is that we have to heal too. So, because I can't tell you or hold you accountable to something that I'm not willing to live up to. If I say heal, but I'm not willing to work through my stuff, process over the last 4 years, so you can kind of try to understand, some of the deficits in podcasting and even me creating content like I wanted to. So first of all, I just want to let you guys know that my inspiration behind this podcast, believe it or not, comes from a song that was released in 2003. So it was April the 29th of 2003. So the song was actually recorded by an artist called 50 Cent, and it was called 21 Questions. And what I love about the song is that 50 Cent was pretty much asking his significant lover at that time, like, if I go through these hard times, I want to know if you're going to have my back. If I go through these hard times, I want to know if you're still going to care for me and you're still going to love me. And so essentially, if you look at the video or whatever, you will find that 50 Cent was he was in jail, and he was asking his lover, who was Megan Good, y'all know her as an actor, if I didn't smell so good, would you still love me? If I got locked up and sentenced to a quarter century, could I depend on you to be there to support me physically and mentally? And so with that being stated, he's asking these questions because he was afraid that if I go through hard times, are you still going to love me? And so I'm asking God hard questions, like these hard questions. Meanwhile, God is countering me, and he's like, you're asking me, God, why do you have to go through this? Or God, why do you have to go through that? But I want to know, Minister Jaquil, I want to know, the holistic one, I want to know, Jaquil, or whatever you want to call yourself, if I allow you to go through hard times, are you going to still love me? You understand what I'm saying? Y'all, here's the thing about that song, 21 Questions. 50 Cent was asking his spouse, lover, whatever you want to call her, vulnerable questions. This song is a vulnerable song. He's saying, I'm here right now. I have it right now. I'm doing my best right now. But what if it was the reverse? What if I didn't have it? What if I was down and out? What if I was on my deathbed? Are you still going to honor your covenant with me? And God was asking me in an intimate moment, you're asking me why I'm allowing you to go through these things, when the question should be, why not? And then furthermore, yeah, you're going through these trials, you're going through these tribulations, but I have a question. Are you going to still love me, even if I put you through tests and trials that you don't like? Are you going to still love me, even when you can't see anything, when you're going through a season of long suffering, when you're going through a season of I can't see anything, I can't see the forest from the trees, I don't see the promises that you promised me, the prophecies that you told me that would come to truth, I don't see them happening. Are you going to still love me? So we get so caught up in asking God questions, but meanwhile, God got 21 questions for us as well. And it just touched me so much, because another thing that kind of got to me about this song was, like I said, was that 50 Cent was he was pouring out his heart to obtain intimacy. And I don't know if y'all understand what intimacy is, but intimacy is into me, see. Okay, so it's like an introspective approach or whatever. So we all have questions going on in our mind that we ask our spouses, we ask ourselves, we even ask God. And God is saying, I know you, I created you, I know every single detail about you. Into you I see. That's intimacy. Into you, I see who you are. You don't see who you are. So you're upset about the trials and the tribulations that you're going through. But what you fail to realize is that I already know what you're going to do when you go through certain trials and tribulations. But into you, do you see what you would do? So I literally am utilizing a trial and a tribulation to show you your heart. I'm literally utilizing a trial and a tribulation to show you what you would do if you were in a hard pressed situation, if you was in a can't see anything season, if you was in a can't kill nothing, won't nothing die season, if you were in a season of being broke, if you was in a season of not having enough, if you were in a season of going through trials, losing your job, losing somebody that you love, a divorce, a miscarriage, the list goes on. I want you to see what you would do when that situation hits the fan, when that situation balloons. Intimacy. So me asking God 21 questions, God reversed it, and he started asking me 21 questions. So everything I asked him, he countered it. You know, when you go to court, you will have somebody ask you a question, and then it'll be countered with another question. Or when you are about to buy a house and you will say, this is what I can offer, and then it'll be a counter offer. God is saying, hold on, wait a minute. It's not just going to be final because you're asking. Let me ask you a question in response to your question. And that's kind of where this episode kind of came about. God, I got questions, but it's a catch. The catch is, but God also has questions for us as well. And so it's something I want y'all to know. So one thing that kind of caught my attention about this song was that it was produced, it was released April the 29th of 2003. So what kind of got me was that, you know, I had just heard God say, well, go look up in the Strong's Concordance, what does the number 429 mean? So 429 mean. So as I go to the Strong Concordance and I look up what does 429 mean, y'all, it blew my mind that 429 means to discover, to find out, and to ask questions. I'm like, God, you can't make this stuff up, because first of all, this isn't a song that serves God. Let's just be honest. It is a worldly song, but for it to be produced, released on 429, I'm thinking and I found out in the Strong's Concordance that 429 means to discover, to find out. I'm thinking to myself, oh my God, God, you're literally doing something. You're trying to help us discover our path. You're trying to help us discover the route that you want us to go. You're trying to help us discover and serve as a compass and a navigator in a see nothing. Oh my God, in a see nothing season, y'all. Like when you can't see anything because it's so dark, because you're in such a dark place, because you're in such a depressed state of mind. You're hopeless. You're literally sinking. And because you're sinking, you can't see, because what does depression make us? It makes us hopeless. So I can't see, right? I can't see, but God can see. And God is saying, you don't even realize that this trial and this tribulation is helping you to discover your next season. You don't realize that this trial and tribulation is helping you to discover and see and ask questions as to the next season I'm trying to elevate you to. You're looking at this as a season of darkness, but for real, it's a season of exposure. It's a season of light, but you can't see that because you're so down and depressed. If only you could just get out of your head, if only you could just get out of your situation, you would see that in the midst of this being a see nothing season, or what looks like a see nothing season, for real, I'm elevating you. For real, I'm taking you to the next level. But you can't see it because you don't want to see it. I don't know who I'm talking to. I know I'm talking to myself, but I'm trying to let y'all know the song by 50 Cent, 21 Questions, was released on April the 29th, 2003. Okay, when I looked this up in the Strong's Concordance, I put in the number 429. The number 429 means to discover, to find out, to investigate, to question. God is serving as a compass to us, y'all, in the see nothing season. You don't know how you're going to get debt free, but God is literally serving as a compass. You don't know how you're going to pay off debt. You don't know how you're going to get married. You don't know how you're going to get healed from a disease that's meant to kill you, but God is literally serving as a compass. You don't know how you're going to pass the test, right? Whether it's a test that you actually have to take, and or whether it's a test where God is testing you in your marriage, where God is testing you in your finances, where God is testing you in your mindset and your belief systems, but God is serving as a compass. So even though you don't see how you're going to get from point A to point B, God is serving as a navigator, as a compass, as for you to discover how he is so good in a see nothing season. In a season where you see absolutely nothing at all, where you're long suffering, God is literally serving as a compass, a navigator, to help you discover your next season. So keep asking God 21 questions, because in the process of you asking him 21 questions, that's building a relationship with him. And guess what? In the process of that building a relationship with him, he's countering those questions, because God knows you in and out. He said, before I shaped you in your mother's womb, I knew you. So guess what? Into you, he's helping you to see what he already knows. He's helping you to discover your path. So the thing that kind of got me about this song, you all, was not only just that, like, I know how 50 Cent was asking her, and I told y'all this already, you know, pretty much, girl, you seem to love me now, but would you love me if I was down and out? Would you still have love for me? But how I heard God say it to me, and I wrote it down, was, Jaquil, it's easy to love me now. ... But will you love me in the season of long suffering? Will you love me when you're in a crisis? Because honestly, it is easy to love me when life is just that ... easy. It's easy to love me when life is just that. It's easy to love me when life is peaches and cream. It's easy to love me when everybody is noticing the hard work that you're doing. It's easy to love me when all of your bills are caught up. It's easy to love me when you don't have to worry about finances. It's easy to love me when the people at your job isn't plucking your nerves, or once you pass that test and you open that private practice and it's licensed professional counselor, Jaquil Gilchrist. It's easy to love me when your season looks like you want it to look. But are you going to love me when I strip you? Are you going to love me when I prune you? Are you going to love me when you're not harvesting anything? Are you going to still love me? Jaquil, it's easy to love me now, but will you love me when you're down and out? Because to be completely honest with y'all, God, we ask God, why are you putting me through this? But again, God is asking, why not? I want to know, are you really going to love me? Because what you don't know is the devil, your adversary, came to me and said, oh, you love me. Oh, Jaquil only loves you because you're blessing her. But if you strip all of that stuff away, she won't love you for real, for real. If you make it so that she only got 3 people on this live podcast tonight, she not going to love you. She only loves you because you giving her 1,000 views on this podcast. If you make her work 3 jobs, she not going to love you. But when you bless her with the financial stability, that's why she loved you. So the devil has already went to God about us, concerning us, basically saying they not going to pass the test. They love you now, but they're not going to love you when they're down and out. So God is asking the pivotal question, Jaquil, you love me now, but are you going to love me when you have nothing at all? Are you going to love me when the tables are turning? Are you going to love me when I told you that the promise was coming, but it's been 10 years later and you still ain't seen it? That was kind of how God gave it to me. And y'all, God can use anything, because the way that he gave this to me, it really blew my mind. You know, I literally heard that it almost being sung to me, like as if 50 Cent was singing it to his lover. I heard God singing it to me. Jaquil, you seem to love me now, but would you love me if you were down and out? Would you still have love for me, Jesus, the Messiah? Would you still have love for me, your Jireh? Even when it looks like I'm not providing for you how you want me to provide for you, will you still have love for me? Will you still love me when I'm withholding my blessings? Because what y'all fail to realize, and this is how we treat God. We treat God like he's disposable. You know, like, oh, you bless me, God, I can put you on the shelf now. But how would you feel if you was in a relationship with your husband or your wife and you were wheelchair bound? And your husband and your wife discarded you because now you're in the season of long suffering. You would feel abandoned. You would feel betrayed. You would feel as if you were neglected. You would not feel loved. But yet and still, we treat God that way. Oh, you blessing me, God. I'm up now. Thank you, Lord. You're so good. But then he caused a crisis to happen, or he allows you to go through a season of long suffering and testing. And you like, God, how dare you forsake me? When he said in his word, I will never leave you nor forsake you. So I just wanted to paint the foundation, or paint the picture and build the foundation as to all the changes that will be occurring with the podcast and the name of this episode. So now I just want to let y'all guys know what the definition of long suffering means. So long suffering is having or showing patience in spite of troubles, especially those caused by other people. So essentially, when you're going through a season of long suffering, you're going through a season where it's that, right? You're suffering, which for what seems like a long time, but in the process of you suffering for a long time, God is building your character. He's building your patience. He's helping you get to the next step. And again, y'all, it's not fun, because those seasons of long suffering is literally shaping you and molding you. I don't know if y'all ever heard that song. I think it's by Shirley Caesar, that's called The Potter Wants to Put You Back Together Again. So in my season of long suffering, y'all, I was, and maybe I'm still like cleaning up the residue from it, fragmented. So what I mean by fragmented, I mean broken. Meaning, like, you know, I felt broken. I literally felt like I was not put together. I felt like, you know, again, God, you're telling me that what I'm supposed to help people work through, what my call is, what my ministry is called wholeness. But in the process of me teaching people about wholeness, I'm supposed to do this while I'm broken? Absolutely, yes. In the process of you healing from being molested, in the process, you are supposed to be a counselor, or you're supposed to help other people who are molested. In the process of you being divorced, you're absolutely supposed to have a marriage ministry, because your ministry is the areas that cause you the most pain. Pain equals purpose. Purpose equals pain. So I'm going to make you feel a lack of something, but what you don't realize and understand is that's going to be the very thing that's getting you to that thing, which is called purpose. I don't know who I'm talking to about this, but I know I'm saying. So you might be feeling fragmented in an area, but that area that you feel fragmented in is the same area that you're called to help somebody else get to the next thing. So God is saying, I'm giving you your vitality, so that once you felt broken, once you felt fragmented, now you're going to feel refreshed in that area, because that is still your call. I don't care how fragmented you feel. I don't care how broken you feel. So with that being stated, my season of long suffering came 4 years ago. So the first question that I had to ask God, you know, I asked him, I said, God, why would you allow me to lose my father? And then to take it a step further, I asked him, God, why would you allow me to lose my father at the most pivotal point of my life? Why would you allow me to lose my father once I got ordained a minister, once I graduated with a master's degree? Why would you allow me to lose my father? I'm going to be vulnerable today. I might cry, because y'all, this is vulnerable stuff. Like I said, I'm healing in front of y'all. I'm not acting like I've already reached a place that I have not healed from yet. Y'all, you know, I'm still healing. I'm still healing. Lord have mercy, right on camera. But, I asked God, you know, why would you, you know, he died November the 8th, which is also my sister's birthday. And we're going to just have a little story time, because this is called The Whole Story, you know, Refresh. And I asked God, I said, you know, God, it's just interesting to me that he died November the 8th, but I was due to graduate with my master's degree from the Norfolk State University. It was supposed to be December the 12th. So I remember specifically getting my hair done for my graduation, and I'm sitting under the dryer, and it dawned on me, like, I'm literally about to graduate from college, and my dad isn't going to be there. But then something else dawned on me. I'm going to one day become married. My dad isn't going to be there. But then something else dawned on me. Man, I haven't even had kids yet. My dad ain't going to be there to meet his grandkids. Then something else dawned on me. I haven't bought a home yet. He ain't going to even be there for my housewarming. Then something else dawned on me. I haven't became licensed yet. So when I become a licensed professional counselor, he's not going to be able to hear about that. I haven't opened up my private practice yet. So I'm thinking about all the accomplishments that are to come. And my thought process was, wow. In the height of me about to graduate, in the height of me about to make it to the next level, in the height of me becoming ordained, of me just starting my podcast, and me about to move into my first place, wow, my father passed away. So when they say, y'all, new levels equates to new devils, what if the devil that you're about to have to combat is the devil called grief? Grief is a whole devil. And believe it or not, if you're not careful, because you're going through grief, you can get stuck in a sunken place. You can get stuck in a spirit of depression. And before you know it, you find yourself grieving, and people don't understand that with grief, it's a portion of there. It's called the 7 stages of grief. And in the 7 stages of grief, and I don't know if I think Sister Taisha is on, but she can speak to this about the 7 stages of grief, how in grief, you go through anger, you go through acceptance, you go through denial, you go through depression, you go through acceptance, disbelief. I think it's a I don't know if somebody can tag an article or something, but it's called the 7 stages of grief. So my stage that hit me the worst was the spirit of depression. Because if I'm being honest with y'all, let's be real. My dad was locked up for 15 years of my life. Let's be honest. He was locked up from the ages of me being 2 to 17 years old. But he died when I was 30. So let's process this. Let me tell y'all the conversations I'm having in therapy, because I want y'all to see how it impacted me. So the only time I was able to see my dad was on the occasions when I was young. Why was that? Because he was locked up. So I would see him in the summer. I would see him on the holidays, and we would go visit. And when he's locked up, he's away. He's not, an hour away. He's in Memphis, Tennessee. He's, away places, like, cause when you're in prison, you're traveling. So the longer your sentence is, sometimes the further away you will go. So reality of the situation is, I'm occasionally seeing him. He gets out of prison. He comes back home, but he goes to a part of Virginia that's 3 hours away. So essentially, I was able to spend a good 15 years with my dad, but also not really, y'all, because you got to think about it. He lived away. So I'm thinking about not only the fact that all the things that's going to happen that he's going to miss out on, I'm thinking about all the occasions that I'm never going to see him again. So he died in November. My birthday is in December, right? Christmas is in December. Then boom, his birthday is in February. So it's like a 4-month stretch of nothing but just depression. And then even still, with it being depression, I still have to be a therapist. I still have to be a mental health professional. I just moved into this apartment, so I still got to manage these bills. And all while still ministering and still talking to you all about wholeness when I don't even feel whole myself, if I'm being honest. And what is depression going to come with? It's going to come with vulnerability. It's going to come with gaining weight. It's going to come with isolation. It's going to come with hopelessness. So I said that to say, one of the things that took my vitality was grief. Grief is a humdinger. And so I'm telling you all, to talk about this to you all is such a blessing, because I can honestly say, though you see tears in my eyes, I am healing. I'm on a healing journey. I have accepted that he's passed away. And yes, I get those moments where I miss him. Yes, I get those moments where I grieve him. But here's the blessing and the beauty, y'all. The blessing and the beauty is that, guess what? I know that he's in a better place. And I also know that I wouldn't want him here to suffer. But here's the thing, y'all, that God had to check me on. He said, you're asking me why did I have to take your father? But then the question he countered me on was, why would you want your father here to suffer? Why would you want your father here to not live his best life? To be on a breathing machine? To be suffering, but not telling you all that he's really suffering because he's a man. And he don't want you to know that. He don't want to sound like he complaining, but for real, he going through his own mental processes. He's not, my father, y'all, passed away. And the thing that astonishes me is the last day that he was here on this earth, he worked. He was at his barbershop. And he came home and he passed away in peace. And God said he was ready. He's at peace now. So I'm going to tell y'all something that I've never shared with the world. So it's the first year that he passed away, maybe like a couple of months after. And I had been, grieving my father really bad. And so I had this dream that I was at my grandma, who lives up in Northern Virginia's home. So I was walking through her home as the age that I was at the time that I had the dream. So I was like 30 years old. So I'm walking through the home, her old house. She doesn't live there anymore. And I can hear my dad and my sister laughing. And in the process of me hearing them laughing, I was caught off guard in the dream, because I'm thinking to myself, that's a voice I haven't heard in a while, but I know my dad's laugh. And so I get into the kitchen, and my dad and my sister are in the kitchen and they're cooking. Now, here's the thing about my dad and my sister. That's not far-fetched. And y'all want to know why? Because my sister loves to cook and my dad could cook really well. So to see them doing that activity together was like, okay, this is like, so I had like a briefcase in one hand and my purse in another hand, and I dropped my stuff because when I saw him, I was so caught off guard, and I was like, oh my God, Dad, are you doing okay? Are you doing okay? And he said, yeah, baby, I'm better than okay. I'm better than okay. I'm good. I'm doing better than okay. In this dream, my dad was wearing all white. Okay, my dad didn't look old when he passed away, because even though he was sick, he still, y'all know this don't crack. But even though he was sick, he still looked pretty good. So what ended up happening was that in the dream, though, he looked about 25 years old. Now, my dad passed when he was 49 years old. Not only did he look to be 25 years old, y'all, he was built. Now, before my dad passed, he was small because he was sick. So he looked almost like he looked when he was locked up in prison. And he was wearing all white. He said, baby, I'm better than okay. He was laughing. He was rejoicing. He was hugging my sister, and she was laughing with him. And you know what God just gave me revelation of while I'm talking to y'all? Vitality. Everybody's vitality is not restored here on earth. Some people are revitalized when they go to heaven to meet their maker. So you're grieving something, but I'm telling you, I'm better than good. I don't have to use a breathing machine anymore. I'm better than good. I don't have to suffer anymore. I'm better than good. I'm amazing. I'm with my creator. I'm with my father. Okay, that's number one. Then number two, before I was about to work at the job I'm at now, which is called Centera, God had gave me a dream at the beginning of 2023. And he was like, I was in a dream and me and my dad were in a diner. Now, here's the thing that gets me about this diner, right, y'all? Is that every time my dad would come back to this part of Virginia, we would always go out to eat together. So we're in the diner and we're sitting down. And now let me tell y'all about this. My dad, again, looks to be 25, buff, like he was when he had first got home or when he was in prison. He's wearing a red bucket hat and all white attire. We laughing, we joking, we're eating. Then I leave the diner and I drive in my car in one direction. He leaves the diner and he drives in his car another direction. And as we're driving and going our separate ways, he calls me on the phone. And he was like, baby, you're on the right track. And then he says, okay, ... I gotta go back now. I gotta go back now. I gotta go back to be with my creator. Another reminder that I'm good. So I moved into this place that I'm in now in August. This is the reason why you gotta be in tune with where God tells you to be at. Right? So I moved into this place in August. And the first week that I moved in my bedroom, it's daytime. And so I had the curtains open and the blinds open. And it's August. And all of a sudden I see a red cardinal. Okay? Now, I don't know what y'all think, but it was just ironic to me that I would see a red cardinal again and again here in this home and at random places. So it's Christmas time, and I hear this saying that says, when cardinals are near, angels are here. So God has confirmed to me time and time again to be at peace because your Father is good. He's in a much better place. So God, my question to you is, why would you take my Father at the height of everything? And his question to me is, why would you want him here to suffer? God, I got 21 questions, but guess what? He has 21 questions too. Your ways are not my ways. My thoughts are higher than your thoughts. You can never conjure up why I'm doing something, but I'm doing it because it's for the better and it's for the best. Okay? So then, the other question that I had for God, it was, God, why would you allow me to almost lose my first apartment? Okay. That was a question, y'all. That was a humdinger. Now I'm going to give y'all story time again. So a lot of you all don't know that I'm a late bloomer. I would call myself a late bloomer because I seem to do everything late. I graduated from college a little bit later. I didn't graduate from college until I was 25. I didn't move out officially by myself until I was 30. I did everything late. Like I was just always a little bit later to do things. And so what ended up happening was that when I moved out, but I don't even think I sought God about moving out. I'm pretty sure I just did it because I felt like I'm 30 and it's time for me to be on my own. I was living with my grandparents at the time, and I moved to the first place that I went to. Now, it had got really bad to a point of, y'all, like I was not able to maintain my rent. And the crazy part about it was by God's grace that I didn't get evicted. But the reality of the situation is, I probably could have got evicted. I'm going to tell y'all why. Because honestly, I could not afford to live on my own. And so, not at that time anyway. And so what ended up happening was that one day I just get a random call from my parents, more specifically my mom, and she was pretty much like, hey, me and your dad, now y'all might not know, but I come from a blended family. So I have a stepfather, but he's my father. He raised me since I was about 3 or 4 years old. And so he's my father. And so what ended up happening was that I had ended up get in my first place. And after about 1.5 years, it just became unfeasible for me. So my mom just randomly called me and said, I don't know why, but me and your dad have discussed and we feel like you need to move back home. Now, what my mom did not know was that I had been behind about 2 months of rent. Y'all know that if you 30 days behind, you can get evicted, period. Like 30 days behind, okay, time to hit the door because you got to go. But I went back home, and in the process of me going back home, of course, my mom, you know, wished as she should, you got 1 year, you got to get your stuff together. So I got myself together in that time frame or whatever the case may be, and I was able to move into my now place where I live at. But here's the thing. I'm asking God, why would you allow me to almost lose my first apartment? And y'all want to know what God said? Why weren't you a good steward over what I gave you? And also, who told you to move there? Y'all, I did not want to hear that. I'm like, no. You need to steward what I give you. And who told you to move there? Because if I'm being honest, I had not gotten any confirmation that it was time for me to move. Honestly, if I'm being real, and I'm ashamed to say this, I probably would have benefited from moving out at the age that I was when I moved into this place, which was 33 years old. I think. Maybe 30. Yeah, 32 years old. I'm 33 now. And that's a hard pill for me to swallow, but it is the truth. And so, y'all, I'm asking God questions about the season that I'm in that looks like a see nothing season, but he's saying back to me, I didn't tell you to do those things, my daughter. You did that in your own ability, your own power. You did not ask me these questions at all. But now that you're asking, the counter to that is, who told you to do that? So, to give you guys some biblical backup, I don't know if y'all know much about the book of Job, but when Job was losing everything, Job lost it all, y'all. You know, the devil went to God and was like, hey, you know, I want to test Job because I feel like, you know, the only reason why he serves you is because you give him anything. You give him everything. So long story short, Job lost his family. Job lost his cattle. He lost his wealth. He lost his health. Job lost everything. And so what happened was that because Job lost everything, he became so angry at God, and he was just like, forget it, I'm done, you know, and he just started asking God questions. And so in Job chapter 38, verses 1 through 11, this is what God said. He said, then the Lord spoke to Job out of the storm. Okay, y'all catch that, y'all. Then the Lord spoke to Job out of the storm. God spoke to Job just like he spoke to me out of a storming season, out of a trial and tribulation, out of a see nothing season, right? And he said, who is this that obscures my plans? And the definition of the word obscures, right, is to keep from being seen. He said, with words without knowledge. Brace yourself like a man or like a woman. I will question you, and you shall answer me. It says, where were you when I laid the earth's foundation? Tell me if you understand. Who marked off the dimensions? Surely you know. Who scratched a measuring line across it? On what were its footing set? Or who laid its cornerstone? While the morning stars sang together and the angels shouted for joy, who shut up the sea behind doors? When it burst forth from the womb, when I made the clouds its garment and wrapped it in thick darkness, when I fixed limits for it and set its doors and bars in a place, when I said, this far you may come and no farther, here is where you will stop, you proud waves must halt. So God is basically telling Job, where were you when I created this world? Where were you when I created you? Your mom who made you. When I basically told the sea that it can come this far and this far only can it come. When I even gave the sea boundaries and I told the sea, you can come this far to the shoreline, then you got to go back in a form of a wave to go to this thing that's called the ocean. Where were you when I basically told the entire sky to cover the entire earth? When I can make it daytime in Virginia, but nighttime in Japan. When I made galaxies that you didn't even know of. Where were you? So you asking me questions about why I have you going through a see nothing season, but where were you when I had a plan for all of this? Where, if I had a plan, if I was smart enough to create your body to function in a way that you would be able to live, you don't think I'm smart enough to get you out of a season of see nothingness, of long suffering? Am I the only, this is blowing my mind. Maybe it's just me. Maybe I'm the only person who am just amazed that we ask God questions like God don't know. So God said, no, since you have so many questions, brace yourself like a man or like a woman and riddle me this. Where were you when I created the world in 7 days? Y'all, the world, the universe, everything in 7 days. When I named every animal that needs to be here in 7 days, animals you've never heard of or never seen, I told them to come to life. Where were you? Where were you when I was able to put each and every star in the sky and know them all by name? Where were you at? If you don't know how, you can't ask me why, but just understand and realize that my ways are higher than your ways. My thoughts are higher than your thoughts. And you so consumed with the how, but let's start being consumed with, no, you so consumed with the why, but just realize, be more consumed with the who. The who is me. I got you. Don't keep consuming yourself with the why either. Because why is because I have a plan. For I know the plans that I have for you, says the Lord. Plans to prosper you, not to harm you. And it just blew my mind, y'all, because my thought process then became, wow, God, you are so awesome. And so when he asking Job these questions, Job, he questioned God, because it's almost like, God, I had everything. I had children. I had riches. I had my health. I had my wealth. I had prestige. Everybody in the community loved me. Everybody in the community came to me because I was so respected. Why are you putting me through all of this? Because I want to know, because you want to know why, Job, you seem to love me now. When you have everything, you seem to love me now when you don't have to want for nothing. You seem to love me now when everybody in the community coming to you and they know your name because you are that dude. You're that guy. But will you love me when you're down and out? Will you still have love for me, Job? Jaquil, you loved me when you graduated from college. Or when you got approved for that first car. Or when you got approved for that apartment. Or when you got that job offer. Or when I let unexpected money hit your account. But are you going to love me when I take your father figure or one of your father figures? Are you going to love me when I put you through a season of, oh, you need to be humble and move back with your parents? Are you still going to love me? Are you going to love me when I say, no, not yet, it's not time for a husband? Even though you've been single for over 8 years? Not dating? Are you going to love me when I got you in your Nissan Versa? I said it ain't time for you to get that nice car that you won't get. You gonna stay right here for a little while. Are you going to love me when you done paid all your bills and you only got $50 to last for 2 weeks? God. Lord have mercy, y'all. I don't even know who I'm talking to. I know I'm talking to myself. Jaquil, you seem to love me now. Will you love me when you're down and out? Will you still have love for me? Can I trust you? Because in order to hear God say, my servant in whom I'm well pleased, God is never going to leave us nor forsake us, but God has a question for y'all. Will you leave him and forsake him when things are not going right, when things are not going how you want it to go? Jaquil, Evangelist Cornell, Yolanda, Prophetess Carla, you seem to love me now. Will you love me when you're down and out? Will you still have love for me? So you got 21 questions for me, but I also got 21 questions for you, because I want to make sure that your love for me isn't conditional or isn't contingent upon you having something. Jesus, will you love me when your health is failing? Will you love me when your husband is saying, I want a divorce, and it ain't nothing that you can do to make me change my mind? Will you love me when your house is getting foreclosed on and all your possessions are sitting on the outside of the house that you saved for? Will you love me when they say, hit the door because we don't need you anymore? You got to find another job. Will you love me when I allow somebody to die that you love? Will you love me when you only got $50 to your name and you work 3 jobs? Will you still have love for me? Will you love me in a Bentley? Will you love me on the bus? And then the Psalm 56 said, I have 21 questions and they all about us. And God is saying, I have 21 questions and they all about our relationship. Will you still have love for me even when you can't the forest from the trees? When you don't know how you're going to get out of this situation, but all you know is that, God, you're going to help me to discover the purpose in all of this pain. God, you're going to help me to discover why I had to go through this situation. I did not mean to turn this podcast into a sermon, but that is what's about to happen. Are you still going to love me? Are you going to love me regardless? So, what I'm going to do with this podcast is I'm going to ask you guys a pivotal and a vital question. So, the vital question that I'm going to ask you guys tonight, right, is what are you allowing to kill your vitality? So, remember, the definition of the word vitality is to give energy to or for something to live. Now, y'all, we got 5 vital organs, I think. The brain, the heart, the lungs, the kidneys. I'm missing one thing, but I do know that the skin is also an organ. It's your largest organ. So what I want to tell y'all is that I don't want y'all to look at this as physically right now. Look at this as spiritually. What does the kidneys do? The kidneys filter, right? It cleans. What are you allowing to make you unclean that's killing your vitality? That's causing you to die in a season that you should be living. Your heart, right, helps you to move. If we have heart issues, we can't move like we want to. So the question that I have for you spiritually is, what are you allowing into your heart that is causing you to not be able to move as effectively as you want to, and also that's killing your vitality? Your lungs helps you to breathe. What are you allowing to stop you from breathing in what God has for you and breathing out what God no longer has for you? Your skin is a protective barrier. It protects your bones. What are you allowing to come close to you that's really killing you? That's why in the word of God, God asked Ezekiel, the question was asked, will these dead bones live? And the prophet Ezekiel said, only you know, Lord. And in the process of him asking, only you know, Lord, all of a sudden, the bones started to get their vitality back. And not only did the bones start to get their vitality back, if you read down, the bones started to grow skin again. The bones started to grow skin again. So the things that was once dead, y'all, God is raising up. He's resurrecting. Vitality means to live. So something in your life has died, but now guess what? Now something in your life can now live. So get your vitality back. What are you allowing to keep you from living? That's the vital question of the night. Ask yourself that question and seek God in your secret place. Okay. So y'all, what I'm going to do to close up every segment of our podcast is I'm going to always introduce a new book each time we do a podcast. Because the name of the podcast is called Vitality, The Whole Story Refresh. So if you guys don't know anything about me, I'm a reader. So I got this book. It's called I Am by Steve Fry, right? And actually, my apostle let me borrow this book, but I haven't given it back to him yet. So thank you for the gift, apostle. So long story short, what I'm going to call this segment is Story and Tea with Key, right? And so what I want y'all, I'm going to read something to y'all, and I just want y'all to marinate on this. And if y'all want to buy this book, it's called I Am, The Unveiling of God by Steve Fry. And so this portion says, when asked the question, do you really want to live? We race to the counter. Now, I just talked about that word. Counter means to ask an opposing question, right? And it says, we race to the counter with our hidden desires of wealth, pleasure, and prestige, only to hear Jesus' response. This is life that you know God. This is life that you know God. When we hear this, we stop dead in our tracks. Somehow, God and life don't seem to belong together. They're not part of the same song. God suggests everything that is wrong with me. Even worse, God sometimes suggests why I'm so miserable. We want life, but sometimes we are not willing to make the journey that will get us real life. Then it says, the truth is that many of us don't really want to get that close to God. For some, it is because they are afraid of him. They remember all their broken promises to him to do better and the times they failed over and over again. Or perhaps they recall images of a vindictive God, scoping the earth for someone to judge. And that stirs uneasy feelings of shame lurking in the shadows of their souls. Uncertain about where they stand with God, they keep a healthy distance between themselves and him. To suggest that knowing God is synonymous with satisfying living is beyond their comprehension. So I'm going to say that again. To suggest that knowing God is synonymous with satisfying living is beyond their comprehension. How can one evoke such feelings of dread be the source of my fulfillment, they wonder. To them, God may be a father, but he is a stern one who must always be appeased. For others, the problem isn't fear, but anger, some unanswered prayer, unresolved hurt, or the loss of someone that they held dear. They hold God responsible for these things and become resentful, even bitter at the injustice they have suffered, bitter at the opportunities they feel they've never had, bitter at seemingly unrelenting hardships they go through without receiving a satisfying answer from God. Again, to suggest that knowing God is life is in its most fulfilled form only irritates them more. How can a God who allowed me to go through so much pain be the source of my happiness? They fume. So guys, what I want y'all to know, what he was saying in this book was that God is life and life is God. We cannot do nothing aside from God. So if you got nothing from this podcast today, the only thing I hope that y'all got was that God is giving you your vitality back. And sometimes the only way that you can get your vitality is in the midst of the trial and the tribulations that you're going through. So I hope that y'all enjoyed this segment tonight or today. I will be back with another podcast on April the 28th, I think. And I will, of course, post updates as I go, y'all. I also just want to say that, you know, this podcast this week was actually a faith walk for me, because I'm going to be very honest in saying my camera broke that I had to record my podcast on when I'm at home. And then in addition to that, my laptop broke just this week. This week. When I tell y'all it was nothing wrong with my laptop, I have no way of understanding why it broke, because I use that laptop all the time. I do my work on that laptop. I do everything on that laptop. So I really have no way of understanding how it broke, but it did. And I heard God just literally say, you better do it anyway. So essentially, laptop, no camera, do it on your phone. Get that ring light and post this video. Post this podcast. So we just gonna trust God, and we gonna wait on him to do what only God can do. So I love y'all. Thank y'all for joining another healing and therapeutic episode of Vitality, the Whole Story Refresh. I am your host, Shaquille, the Holistic One Gilchrist. Be blessed.